Good morning, everyone. This is Ted Myrmedos, and today is the first Monday of October, October 3rd, 2022, and this is the Delaware Division of Child Support Services, Child Support Connection. And for those of you who have tuned in the past, this is a monthly event that I like to hold on the first Monday of every month from 11:30 to 12:30 to share information about what's happening at the Division of Child Support Services, and hopefully to take questions from the public. Doesn't matter if you have a child support case or not. If you're interested in learning about child support, I'm more than happy to answer any question that someone may have. And it's just an opportunity for us to share a little bit about some of the things that are taking place at the Delaware Division of Child Support Services. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I do this every month, is I want to read to everyone our division's mission statement. And the mission statement is important not only to us here at the Child Support Office, but it should be important to you as a member of the public so that you have a better understanding of what we care about here at Child Support. So it's our mission here at the Division of Child Support Services to deliver quality customer support by partnering with parents to improve the lives of children and their families. This is achieved through obtaining accurate child support orders to meet the financial, medical, and emotional needs to promote family self-sufficiency for the best outcomes of children and their families. So that's our mission statement here at Child Support. And that's, like I said, it's important to me to make sure that people know that. And I always like to read that at the beginning of every Child Support Connection, so that people know what we believe in here and what we try to strive for as a child support agency. So since the last time we met, so there's some things that have happened here at Child Support that I'd like to share with everyone. First and foremost, back in July, I met with a group of non-custodial parents as part of the Remand Project's listening session. It was a joint listening session with the Child Support Program and a entity that we use to help our non-custodial parents called the Remand Project. We held a listening session, and it was in the city of Wilmington. I think it was like on July 23rd, 2022. And it was actually very interesting. You know, we had an opportunity from the child support perspective to share a little bit about what we do directly with a group of non-custodial parents, and got to share with them some of the things that we believe in here in child support when we try to support and work with the non-custodial parents in a child support case. We also got to share with them various enforcement tools that we have here at Child Support. And most importantly to me was that we got to listen to some of their concerns. And it was a wide range of concerns related to the Child Support Program and how we treat non-custodial parents. It had to do with some of the things that take place at family court, and some of the reactions of how they deal with the results of a family court order. It also was interesting for us to hear about some of the things that they think we can do better as a child support program. And I certainly can understand that and do want to hear feedback from non-custodial parents and custodial parents as it relates to their child support case. So we had a very interesting conversation. I thought it lasted maybe about 2 hours in its totality, and it was really a good event. But one of the things that was shared at that listening session was that a non-custodial parent raised a particular issue about their license and the fact that their license had been suspended, and they either didn't know about it or knew about it but forgot about it, and they got pulled over by the police on their way to work. And they were saying to us, look, I'm working. My employer has taken the money out of my check. They've been sending it to you guys for a long time. Why is my license still suspended? And it raised a very good question, and it got us thinking a little bit about child support. And if a non-custodial parent, sometimes a non-custodial parent in the beginning goes through a certain part of their life where they're just trying to avoid it. But at some point they finally come to that reality, or the sense that maybe I need to start doing the right thing about my child support order, and they start to get on track. So it got us thinking, this little story from this non-custodial parent got us thinking, how many other people out there in Delaware have a Delaware child support order, we're receiving payments from them and have been for a consistent period of time, and their license is still suspended. And we went back as far as 2013, and we determined that there was approximately 1,350 cases where a non-custodial parent had their license suspended and has had wage attachment payments or payments coming in consistently for the last 6 months on all of their child support cases. Well, we went back, and our child support specialists, the caseworkers, actually worked very hard to focus some time looking at those 1,300 cases. And we determined that out of the 1,300 cases, we could reinstate about 1,100, and I think it was 60 cases, where a non-custodial parent had been paying consistently on all of their child support cases, and for over 6 months, and we gave them back their licenses. And we just last week sent out the last batch of letters notifying them that they need to go and talk to the licensing agency, for instance, the Division of Motor Vehicles, or DNREC for hunting and fishing licenses, the Division of Professional Regulations for a business license, or I'm forgetting one. But so we sent out those letters that said, hey, contact that licensing agency, and if you need to know who that is, you can call us and we'll tell you, and get your license back. And you might have to pay a fee at the licensing agency, but we were really happy about those results. I think it was like 86% of the individuals got their licenses back. So we are we're going to consider looking at these cases at least once a year to say how many more individuals can we return a license to. Normally, the normal policy here at the Child Support Office is you have to make a lump sum payment worth 2 months of your child support. But in a situation where we are receiving consistent payments, we want to be able to help non-custodial parents get that license back. So I thought that project yielded some pretty huge successes. I'm really happy for the non-custodial parents who got their licenses back, and I want this to kind of start resonating out there a little bit, to be a further message to non-custodial parents that if you're going to start making those payments consistently, we want to work with you, and we want you to contact us. If you think, hey, I've been making payments for 3 months, consistently on all of my cases, in another 3 months, give us a call and let's see about what we can do to reinstate your license. And it's always helpful if you're working and you can tell us where you're working so we can send a wage withholding to that employer. And that kind of solidifies to us, hey, payments are going to come in consistently from now on. But we want to work with non-custodial parents. I was very pleased with those results from a child support perspective. and really am happy for those non-custodial parents. So we're going to, like I said, we're going to consider doing this annually to determine whether we can give back more licenses. And if it wasn't for, and I want to give credit where it's due to the Remand Project for pulling that listening session together in July, because we really got some good feedback, and more importantly, we were able to communicate our philosophy to non-custodial parents, our wanting to be able to work with non-custodial parents to help them get back on track if they're not on track with their child support payments. So we certainly want to be able to work with them consistently. So I see there's a couple questions in the chat, which is awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll hit some of those questions. And then if we have some more time, I'll tell you about some other things we're working on here at Child Support. So the first question or comment is, I want to know why, if a non-custodial parent owes arrears but is paying, doesn't matter what they are paying according to you guys, as long as they are paying something, decides that the NCP decided that the NCP owes will not receive a license suspension. I do not get a free pass when I can't afford to pay my bills. Why do they have to come and waste our time and form a calculation of what they should be paying if they can just make up an amount? DCSS does not enforce the rules, so other parents who are not paying their contribution can just keep on getting away with it. No parent should have to sit on pins and needles wondering if the other parent is going to stop helping out. If they paid their child support the amount that is set by the court, they would not have to worry about their license being suspended. Stop letting these people get by doing the bare minimum. They should have to pay what the courts have ordered. Okay, so there's several things going on here. I absolutely agree with you that a non-custodial parent should be paying what the court has ordered. And a non-custodial parent should either tell us where they're working, let the family court know where they're working, so we can order a wage withholding to be sent to that employer to send us a child support payment every time that person gets paid for the full child support obligation. We want to work with non-custodial parents. Our philosophy is this. We want to work with non-custodial parents to gain their credibility in us as a child support program so that we can help them get back on track. If they're not, I recently wrote, we used to have a wanted poster where we'd hang pictures of non-custodial parents, the amount that they owe in arrears, the last time we got a payment. And those wanted posters did absolutely nothing to gain support from the non-custodial parent to do what they need to do. We are taking a philosophy, a child support, customer service, customer support philosophy to work with non-custodial parents who have not been in compliance with their child support order and want to get in compliance with their child support order. And if they don't, we use the enforcement tools that we have in our child support system to gain the enforcement that we feel that the will encourage will by force encourage the non-custodial parent to pay. When we intercept their tax refund if they file a tax, when we suspend their driver's license, we do suspend driver's license every day. We're suspending driver's licenses, or business licenses, or professional licenses. We've got enforcement tools, reporting people to the credit bureau, denying a passport. We've got tons of enforcement tools. They all, don't work the same on every case, but if we can show non-custodial parents that they can trust the system, they can trust the child support program, it's going to help everybody in the long run. I've always said, if you cannot afford what the courts have ordered, pay what you can pay. Rather than paying nothing, I'm encouraging people to pay what they can pay, but until they can file a modification within the family court. Non-custodial parents can file a modification of their child support order if they cannot afford what the courts have said. I'm never on record as saying if you can't afford what the courts have paid, you got to pay the whole thing anyways. Or if you can afford what the courts have said, you don't pay what the courts have said. I've always am under that. When I say pay something, it's because the person can't afford what the courts have ordered them to pay, and that's maybe because they've lost a job or they are not making what they used to make. So I'm totally in support of non-custodial parents paying their full child support order as ordered by the family court. But when they're not paying anything, in my opinion, it's better for them to pay something than nothing. And I think we've talked about this in other Child Support Connections, and I will continue to talk about it as long as people keep asking or making statements along those lines. We want to work with the non-custodial parent to get them to start making payments if they're not making those payments as ordered by the court. Once the court sends over an order to update the child support order, how long does it normally take for the child support to process that change and send out a new wage attachment? Also, how would someone go about stopping retroactive payments once their retroactive support is paid in full? So, a couple things. Let me answer the first question first. So when we get an order from the family court, people need to understand we're getting a stack of orders all at one time, and we do have several people who are entering those orders as accurately and as quickly as they possibly can, and updating the employer information so that a new wage withholding will go out to that employer. So it can take anywhere from, don't quote me because this is never really in stone, but once we receive that court order from the family court, it could take anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to get that order in the system and a new wage withholding sent to that employer. Sometimes a little less than that, sometimes a little more than that, but it does, there is a process in place for us to receive those documents and get them entered in the system as quickly as we possibly can. So the next question about retroactivity, I'm not sure if you mean, let me see here, I'm going to read it again just so I can make sure. Also, how would you go about stopping a retroactive payment once those okay, so you're talking about, so when the courts say this order is going to go back in time and it's going to create an arrears balance, and they say an additional payment besides the current support will be applied towards the arrears. So when those arrears are satisfied, if it's a case that's handled by the child support office, we can go ahead and file with the family court a notice of administrative adjustment, and that can take anywhere between, once we do that process to remove the payment on those arrears, it can take anywhere between 10 to 30 days to get that document updated in the child support system and a new wage going out to the employer. I say that because with every notice of administrative adjustment, both parties get a copy of that document. So we get the document, we send it to the Department of Justice, they review it, they sign off on it, and it comes back to us at the child support office. We do some other administrative stuff to that document, and we send the parties a copy to give them an opportunity to contest the notice of administrative adjustment. They get 10 days. If no one responds back to us, we update it in our child support system, and we'll send that document out to both parents as an official document and a copy to the family court. So it can take about 10 to 30 days because of that initial process of having to notify the parties, and then it gets entered into the system, and that amount is taken off. So it would just be now in a current support obligation, and the arrears payment would go away. I hope that answered your question. Very good question. Very good question. The retroactive, you have to file to have it dropped. So Mr. Smith, Corey Smith, you were actually helping, but we can do that document here. If you're a client of the divisions, just if your case is handled by the division, just call our office. Our customer service telephone numbers are 302-577-7171, and we can file a notice of administrative adjustment to remove that arrears payment on your case. And that's easier than you having to go in and file something at the family court. You don't want to do that. We can help you do that here. So that's right. So Ms. Cummings, you're absolutely right. You do not have to spend any money if you contact us, and we can, if you're a client of ours or the other party is a client of ours, we can do that for you, a notice of administrative adjustment. And it's probably best, folks, to let me answer the questions just so there's no confusion. Just want to be able to, let's try to do it that way, just so we can make sure hopefully the correct information is being shared. So I'm going to read this. I'm not sure if there's a question here. I'll give you a good example. COVID didn't just affect custodial parents when everything got shut down, but it took months before any help came for parents like myself. A majority of fathers pay their fair share. If you're dealing with a man that isn't doing his part, sorry for your child. I haven't received a dime from my daughter's mother in almost a year, and I could care less. What I care more about is doing the right thing and having a relationship with my child. So if Corey, if you're a custodial parent, which it sounds like you are, and you have a child support order, contact us and talk to your worker about what's happening with your child support case, and let's see if there's anything new that we can tell you that would potentially help get you some child support. If you're not a client of ours, I encourage you to try and apply for child support services and let us see what we can do to help you get child support. One of the things too that I've been trying to really push is for individuals to sign up for the customer website through the my.delaware.gov app. And I'm stressing that to people because we have experienced some staff shortages, call wait times have increased, and people are on hold for a little bit longer than we would like. But the customer website gives people a chance to speak to their worker through email. And but you have to go to .delaware.gov and then sign up for the child support customer website by creating a username and password. So if you have an order through child support, you don't have to pay to file, neither parent. So I would encourage you to contact us and we will help you through filing a notice of administrative adjustment. So I think, okay, it's been over a month, so I should have my husband call and find out what's going on. Absolutely. Have him give us a call and at 577-7171, and if the payment over the arrears has been satisfied, ask the worker to file a notice of administrative adjustment. The only issue I have is when, this is from Mr. Smith, the only issue I have is when child support intercepts money that is wrong amount, which creates a credit, and it takes months for the non-custodial parent to receive such credit. Yeah. So there are situations where, with a retroactive order of a current support obligation, it will reflect an overpayment on a child support case, and we have to tell non-custodial parents that if you want those funds back, you have to go to family court and ask the court to have that payment reimbursed to you by the custodial parent. Anything that's overpaid of current support can become a credit or an overpayment owed to the non-custodial parent. But any extra arrears payments that come in will not go out as, those monies after the current support obligation for a month has been satisfied. The current support obligation for that month is satisfied. Nothing more will go out because there's no arrears to be paid, because if they've been paid off, that they're satisfied. Is it possible to find out the date arrears started? Non-custodial parent owes less than $500, but I could really use the dollars to pay bills. So let me see. Is it possible to find out the date arrears started? Non-custodial parent owes less than $500, but I could really use the dollars to pay bills. So arrears can be created in a couple ways. And then I'm going to tell you how to find out. The first way, and I kind of mentioned it already, is if the courts create a current support obligation and they go retroactive in time. So if they say, the current support obligation is $100 and it starts 2 months ago, then the arrears would already be established at $200 a month, or $200 arrears balance. And then the second way is, if a non-custodial parent fails to pay the current support for a given month, anything left unpaid goes and is added towards an arrears balance. So there's two ways to answer your question specifically to find out when the arrears started. The first way is to look at that very first court order and determine, was there any retroactivity of that first current support obligation? The second way to see what the arrears balance is and maybe what months over a given time were not paid in full and became part of an arrears balance is to contact our office and request an account statement. Or log into that customer website, because through the my.delaware.gov website, because what that does is it allows you to print an account statement from home. If you're a custodial parent or a non-custodial parent, you can have access to your child support case through the customer website. So I encourage people to do that. So the next question is, you also never get the same information when you call child support as well. No one gives you the correct information either. You hear a different answer from everyone you talk to. It also takes days for them to call you back, if they even call you back at all. Okay, so my suggestion is this. We want people to call our office. I've already given out the customer service telephone numbers. I also am encouraging people, and I would encourage you to sign up, if you haven't already, for the customer website at my.delaware.gov. This gives you another way to communicate with your worker in writing and receive a response back in writing. If you ever speak to someone in our customer service unit and the information you're receiving you don't believe is accurate, we certainly would encourage you to ask to speak to a supervisor or a child support specialist 3 who has been around child support a little bit longer. We are in the process of training and working closely with new employees in our customer service unit. So we want accurate information to be shared. So we're encouraging callers to reach out to a supervisor, ask to speak to a supervisor, and get some information from a supervisor if you don't think the information you're being told is accurate. Now, when we say that a worker is going to call you back, we give about 48 to 72 hours for a return phone call. And as I mentioned previously, and this is an excuse, we want our workers to contact our clients when they've reached out. We have experienced some staff shortages. A vacancy rate has increased a little bit, and we are working to try and fill those positions. So, it may take people a little bit longer to get back to you, and we certainly apologize for that. We want people to get responses from the child support program. So we certainly want people to be called back. And My suggestion is, if you don't get a call back, certainly if you can, our offices are open, and you can certainly come to our child support office and speak to someone in person about your child support situation. He's aware of the arrears but won't pay unless he's told by the Division of Child Support. I called the Division of Child Support to question this and was told I may not see the dollars until my kids are 18. Is this true? So, okay, so there's a couple things here. One, we want people to pay their child support. That's, there's no disputing that. We want people to pay their child support. The arrears that accrue on a child support case are there for the life of that case until those arrears are paid in full. So I would certainly hope that our employees are not telling people or callers that you're not going to see anything until your child is 18, because that's not necessarily true. I'm hoping what they meant was that those arrears that have accrued are going to be there until the non-custodial parent satisfies those arrears in full. So we certainly want to make sure that people understand that, and we want to make sure our workers are not giving out misinformation. So like I said, I would encourage people, and I certainly want people to reach out to their workers. We're asking for a little bit of time in trying to return calls and get back to folks. And if they're not returning a phone call, then we definitely want to know that, and we will work through those issues. So let's see here. So I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. But I'm encouraging people because it's so important. I'm encouraging people to enroll in that customer website, because it's just another alternative. And it could be custodial parents, it could be non-custodial parents. And it gives people another way of reaching out to the child support program. Okay. So, okay. So that's all the current questions that are in there, and I will come back, of course, and continue to answer any questions that come into the chat. Those are my top priorities. I always want to answer those child support questions. Let's see here. I think I do have one more question. It's rather long. Let's see. Okay, so this is going to kind of take me a few minutes, but I want to try to get through it. Okay. Finding out a non-custodial parent who is a repeat offender with the family court system. The offender, the non-custodial parent, has 3 children, each from a separate relationship. This custodial parent's child is the eldest and no longer has an active support case. However, the non-custodial parent owes $65.45 in arrears. He also owes both a monthly amount and an arrears balance to his youngest child and her mother. Also owes total arrears of $11,000 between the 3 of them. On January 20th of 2022, a capias was issued for his arrest due to his repetitive disregard towards the children and legal system. This is the 3rd capias for the same charge. Failure to appear for an arrears case. That's a contempt arrears case. Using this profile, I was able to befriend him, find his residential address, his cell phone number, and he has been working as a self-employed contractor since January of 2022. These are all facts he's openly shared through photos, his post of others. He is living with a woman and her son in Kent County. They take short vacations, eat out, and love going to local bars. Of course, I do not blame her in any way, as she's more than likely does not know his actual background. My question, where do we go from here? Crime Stoppers was contacted a week ago. However, he's still buying himself name brand clothes and driving to work sites he has no business license for. I've tried my best to go above and beyond in helping the other mothers, and I am not sure what more I can do at this point. How can I help her move forward with this? So let's see here. So there's a lot there. So let's first say this. How we deal, and you mentioned that he's currently self-employed, probably working under the table. If he's got no business license, no corporate license, anything like that. So as I've mentioned many times before, those really are the hardest non-custodial parents to get a handle on, because they're really kind of working under the table, and it's not like we can send a wage withholding to that employer for them to make a child support deduction and send those payments to the child support office. You did the right thing by calling Crime Stoppers. When there is a family court capias, that's a bench warrant for not appearing for that contempt hearing, that arrears hearing. The problem or the challenge here is when there's a capias, they're kind of, when we talk about law enforcement, or talking to law enforcement about picking non-custodial parents up on family court bench warrants, it sometimes is something that they really don't, when there's other crimes or other more serious criminal activity taking place. Sometimes family court capiases are, kind of low on the bar of, the law enforcement agencies really getting involved. It's a sad state of really of helping custodial parents get non-custodial parents to comply with the orders. So law enforcement really does, not really jump into action to deal with these bench warrants, and there's got to be a better way to get these non-custodial parents to comply with a bench warrant. When there's a bench warrant, in most cases, I cannot say this in 100% of the cases, the family court is going to bring them in and deal with the capias and reschedule those hearings for another time. And in most cases are not going to lock a person up. In most cases, it does happen. What I always try to tell non-custodial parents, you need to turn yourself in on those civil bench warrants, go into family court. And it's always beneficial if you can walk into the family court with some money and tell the courts you're willing to make that lump sum payment. That's going to help you avoid incarceration. And in this gentleman's case, if there's been 3 civil bench warrants in the past, the courts, they do not like non-custodial parents who continuously flout that they're not gonna comply with what that commissioner wants, and the more and more times a non-custodial parent goes before a commissioner and does not comply with a previous order, the more likely they're going to find themselves being incarcerated. So I always try to tell non-custodial parents, get back on track. Start making some regular payments. Make those regular payments. If you're going to turn yourself into court and you've been continuously, not complying with the order, have had multiple bench warrants, it's in your best interest to go in with some cash and let the courts know you're willing to go to the child support office and make those payments today. But working under the table, it's the other thing that I would suggest to this is you could contact, let's say for instance this gentleman, I'm just hypothetical here, lives in Felton, Delaware. That's in Kent County. You could call the local Felton PD non-emergency number and ask if they would go pick up that person if you know their address, know their location. Or if he lives in Dover, the city of Dover. Call the Dover PD local number, not the 911 number, and see if they'd be willing to go pick him up. On a day, he's got to be there. That's the thing. You got to know when he's going to be there, the hours of day he's going to be there. Like you said, what kind of car he drives, that kind of thing. And maybe the Dover police or the Felton police, a local jurisdiction, will help you pick that person up. But my suggestion is always this: when and I'm not trying to demean anybody here. I don't take this the wrong way. When you're talking to local law enforcement, you've got to be polite. You got to give them all the information they need. You can't be disrespectful. You're trying to gain their assistance, and they will help you. But it's they're more worried with criminal activity that's taking place in our communities, and unfortunately, civil bench warrants tend to be something lower on the chain of trying to help people out with. But I encourage people to try to call their local police departments and see if they can get some assistance with helping to have those capiases resolved, have those cases resolved. Let's see here. Nothing has ever been done. Why waste our time to go to court then for the CP to waste time? So the courts also, are doing more, especially with arrears cases or contempt cases, and not requiring custodial parents to show up at family court. So if there's a hearing for an arrears or for a contempt case, if you're a custodial parent, you can talk to the Department of Justice, you can talk to the Child Support Office and request that you do not have to appear. And in most cases, the courts will agree with you, custodial parent. You do not need to attend this hearing. Don't just not show up. Contact someone and see if you don't have to appear. If it's a new support petition, new child support, a modification of a child support order, you have to go. Contempt hearings, arrears cases, the courts are more lax in saying to the custodial parent, you do not have to attend. But you need to reach out to someone. Okay, let's see. Just want to make sure we're good. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about this listening session that we had. So we had a listening session in July with the Remand Project. And I wanted to let people know that we've scheduled, the Remand Project has helped us schedule the next listening session. And right now it is scheduled for, and I'm trying to bring it up here. Let's see here. It is scheduled for, bear with me, Monday, November 14th. And it's scheduled in Middletown, Delaware. Monday, November 14th at 7 p.m. And it's going to be held at the Living Grace Worship Cathedral. And that's at 100 West Green Street in Middletown, Delaware. We'll post the flyer to our Facebook page. And we will work with the Remand Project to really promote this event. November 14th, it's a Monday at 7 p.m. It's at the Living Grace Worship Cathedral at 100 West Green Street. So if you can attend, you don't have to be from Middletown to attend. If you can be there, we certainly want to encourage people to go. And we want to be able to talk to custodial and non-custodial parents about child support, about their family court experiences, about their child support experiences. And we want to be able to provide good feedback and work with people to help them understand and, more importantly in my mind, maneuver through that child support system that sometimes can be a little difficult, can be a little confusing, but we want people to understand the process. Okay, just going through the questions, and I'm seeing we're still good on questions and comments. So let's talk about a few other things. I talked about the press release we issued related to license suspension. I'm so happy we were able to do that. And let's just talk a little bit more just to give you guys a little bit more about Delaware child support. We have about 73,000 child support cases that we're working here statewide in Delaware. About 60% of those cases are in Newcastle, and the other 40% broken down, about 20 and 20% in Kent and Sussex County. We are going to be issuing nationally, the national child support directors around the country are going to be issuing, and Delaware is going to be participating, a national survey about child support, the child support program here in Delaware and around the country. And we want people to really consider taking that survey. And it's right now, tentatively, the plan is for that survey to be issued the first week of November. It has been pushed back a couple times, so I say tentatively. But I want people to keep their eye out for it. We are going to post it on our Facebook page, on our website, and on our Instagram page so that people know how to get to the link and take the survey. It's really to try and gauge people's perspective about child support, the child support program in their respective state, whether they're a client of the child support program or why they're not a client, and we really want to gauge that feedback. So I'm hoping that folks will consider taking that survey once we issue it, and we are planning on participating in that national event. So I'm encouraging people to really consider doing that. One of the other things that we don't talk a lot about here at Child Support is the Head Start programs. So if your child is participating in Head Start and you are not receiving child support and you want to receive child support, you should contact our office and contact somebody at the Head Start program. We want you to enroll in our child support services. There is no fee to enroll in child support if your child is participating in Head Start here in the state of Delaware or anywhere else in the country for that matter. So we are encouraging people, if you're a part of your child is a part of the Head Start program and you're not receiving child support, to reach out to either us by coming to one of our 3 offices statewide, or contacting our customer service unit at 302-577-7171, or going to the customer website through the my.delaware.gov app and enrolling. There's an application for services app there that you could apply for child support. You just need to make it known to us that your child is a participant of the Head Start program here in the state of Delaware. Let's see here. So, we just concluded our federal fiscal year on September 30th, and one of our performance measures that we are required to work on is establishing paternity for children who are born out of wedlock. So, if a child is born when the parents are married, paternity for that child is already established based on the fact that the parents were married when the child was born. But if your child is born out of wedlock or when the parents are not married, we want to help you establish paternity for that child. And we can do it. It's so simple. Either through the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity program, and that's when both parents sign and notarize a document, and we will notarize it for free at Child Support, basically acknowledging that I am the parent of this child. We will help you do it. We will help you file that document with the Office of Vital Statistics, and the child's birth certificate is updated with both parents' names, and the parties are provided a copy with that updated birth certificate. So the third way, we've got marriage, the voluntary acknowledgement of paternity program, and then through genetic testing. And we can help schedule genetic testing with a certified lab. Those results are then sent to the family court, who will adjudicate paternity and send those results to Vital Statistics, where the birth certificate is updated. And parties are provided a copy of that birth certificate. So if you need help establishing paternity for your child, or if you're a grandparent and you want your grandchild's paternity to be established, we can help you get that done. It has got so many long-lasting benefits to that child to establish paternity. There's economic benefit, there's medical benefits, there's social awareness benefits. It's just extremely, extremely important. And we want people to establish paternity, and we will help you do it. Even if you're an intact family but not married, we can help you establish paternity for that child. And we are encouraging people to contact us so we can do that for you. Just going, making sure no one else has asked any questions. And let's see here, what else can we talk about? Our office locations. So our offices, we have 3 offices statewide, and those offices are open. You can come to a child support office. You can speak to a child support specialist. In Newcastle County, we are located at the Churchman's Corporate Center at 84A Christiana Road, Newcastle, Delaware. I always tell people we are about a quarter of a mile west of Route 13. So we're about a quarter mile west of Route 13. We're on the right. It's the Churchman's Corporate Center. In Kent County, we are located at 905 South Governors Avenue. We're on the 2nd floor. It is about maybe about a half mile south of Kent General Hospital, the emergency room, about a half mile south of that. And then in Sussex County, I always forget the address for Sussex County, but it's at 20105, that's 20105 Office Circle, Georgetown Professional Park, and that is located right across the street from the Walmart. And I believe the unemployment department is also located in that development, in that office complex. So those are our 3 offices. If you need to speak to a child support specialist, I'm going to promote it again, and I may actually put something in the chat after the conclusion. my.delaware.gov. Sign up for that customer website. You will, as time goes by, you will have other apps from other government offices, other departments in state government that you can access through my.delaware.gov. We were lucky. The child support program was extremely lucky because we were one of the very first agencies to have an app in the my.delaware.gov site. So I'm encouraging people that, because you can access parts of your child support case, and I'm encouraging people to do that. And it just makes things so much easier. You have a documented way of communicating with us. You can print account statements from home. You can be a custodial parent. You can be a non-custodial parent, and you can access that information. So I'm encouraging people to give it a try. And just trying to think here if there was any other information. Family court. I've already given you our customer service information. The 302-577-7171. That's the customer service unit telephone number. Please bear with us. We are working hard to not keep people on hold very long. I know there's some challenges there. At family court, if you're a non-custodial parent and you want to file something at family court, all 3 family courts have what they call a pro se or a resource office that you can go to and speak to somebody about filing documents within the family court system. I encourage you to do that if you feel you need to file any kind of documentation with the family court. So I think we'll go ahead, and I know we have about 5 more minutes. I haven't seen a new question come in recently, so I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Next month, November 7th, Monday, November 7th, between 11:30 and 12:30. The Child Support Connection will be right here on our Facebook Live page. And the third Wednesday of every month, I'm with Jake Smith, 98.5, 92.7. I'm forgetting the call numbers, but it's WGMD 98.5, I believe it is, with Jake Smith from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. the third Wednesday of every month. So for October, it's going to be the 19th. Please listen to that hour. It's so informative. Jake is a really good guy in letting me come down and answer questions for the public. So if you have any questions, please feel free to call in, or you can send Jake an email, and we read those emails online on the radio, but we will not give out your name or any kind of personal information. So everybody, have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the great questions. And I will see you next month on the Child Support Connection for the state of Delaware's Division of Child Support Services.